நீராடும் கடலொடுத்த நிலமடந்தை எழிலொழுகும் சீராடும் வதனமென திகழ் பரத கண்டமிது திக்கணமும் மதிச்சிறந்த திராவிடன திருநாடும் தக்க சிறு பிறனுதழும் தரித்தனரும் திலகமுமே அத்திலக வாசனை போல் அணித்துலகும் இன்பமுற எத்திசையும் புகழ் மணக்க இருந்த பெரும் தமிழனங்கே தமிழனங்கே உன் சீரிழமை திறமை எந்த செயல் மறந்து வாழ்த்ததுமே வாழ்த்ததுமே வாழ்த்ததுமே.
Taxpayer Association. First of all, let me express my deep gratitude to all you all present here. I extend my special welcome to our respectful speakers of the day, Mr. R. Shantakumar, President of India's Taxpayer, Mr. Venkat Ramanan, Chartered Accountant, Mr. Suresh Babu, Finance Head of Roots Industries Limited, Mr. Ranganathan, ISO Certification Member, Mr. Srikanth, Director of NGP Management School, Mr. Anantaraman, Management Advisor, IAMA Research. I also thank our proud sponsors, Craftsman Automation and Roots Industries Limited. I also welcome you all and I wish you to have a good day. Thank you. Now I request Mr. Shantakumar to inaugurate the function.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. There was a little delay in starting up. I'm sorry about that. We normally start off at the appointed time. We are still expecting some guests and who are still to come. So I'll let them join us as time passes on. But let us make a beginning. Let me start by welcoming you all to this evening's function. I hope you will gather at the end of the day a lot of information from all these excellent speakers that we have aligned for you. And now, I just thought before we go on to the program that I should introduce India Taxpayer to you, because India Taxpayer is still in its initial stages. We have been growing, of course, but we are yet to get introduced to a huge number of the crowd that's over here in Coimbatore as well as in the country. India Taxpayer made its humble beginning sometime in 2011-12. That's around the time we started. It's almost 6-7 years, but if you look at why India Taxpayer, I think that's much more important for our current perspective. The taxation, if you look at as being the deciding factor in the history at many different points of time. If you look at, for instance, even the Indian freedom movement, the turning point in the freedom movement happened with the salt tax. The Dandi March and, the making the salt out of it, breaking the tax rules laid down by the British. So that was possibly the starting point for the freedom, the turning point. I wouldn't say the starting point, the turning point for the freedom movement. So, very similar things. Many wars and battles have been fought for tax, and then many times battles have ended with tax. That also is true, So when a country accepts to pay tax, the very, very famous war is, of course, the opium wars that happened in China, when all these the 5 superpowers in Europe closed it after Chinese government accepted to pay a tax to these people. So the taxes have a very, very important bearing in the civilization of human race, and that's what is happening in this country too. In addition to that, you will find that taxes are an important throttle using which many times people have got what they wanted from the government. Okay, and unfortunately or fortunately, whatever has been happening in this country is that the tax movement or the taxpayer movement is in a very, very nascent stage. If you look at the taxpayer movements, for instance, we are planning to visit Australia sometime later in the month. In Australia, they are celebrating 150 years of taxpayer movement. They have a taxpayer rights. In US, there is a taxpayer bill for taxpayer rights, and even in Pakistan, they have a taxpayer rights. Okay, an act which has come into as a tax for the taxpayers' benefits. But in India, we still do not have a taxpayer rights as a movement. Okay, as a matter of fact, there is no act which gives us specific rights. Something like you have no need to pay an extra tax. This is a simple right. So something like that is absent in our country. So what we felt was there is a gross, huge requirement for supporting and building up taxpayer movement in this country. Okay, we are all taxpayers. Many times it is told to us that there is just about 3% to 5% or 6% are the only taxpayers in this country. Therefore, the major chunk of the people are not paying taxes. That's what we have been made to believe. But please change your opinion on that. 100% of all citizens, we all pay taxes. What they are talking of is the direct tax or the income tax. Whereas what I am talking about is all types of taxes. If you look at the GST, everyone who buys a pencil pays a tax. Okay, and everybody does that. So that is how it is. The taxation is today goes to or is paid by every individual in this country. So nobody is going to escape from this. Okay. So we as India taxpayer, what we thought was we would possibly be a body which would bring in all kinds of taxpayers. We have associations of industries, we have associations of lorry owners, we have associations of traders, we have associations of every specific industry, right? But we do not really have a common forum where just taxpayer rights have to be discussed, right? So this is possibly the forum, this is possibly the association which would take that forward and bring up a forum for which is common across all citizens of this country, not necessarily the specific. So this was the reason why we had formed this association, India Taxpayer, and India Taxpayer itself is now a part of the World Taxpayer Association, which is a 64 country association of 64 different organizations from various countries. So we are also part of it. So we are an internationally recognized body, and we are also what we are trying to do is we have segregated. We have our activities into two main areas of work. Area number one, we wanted to do policy advocacy. That's where we started, and we still continue to do that. We have brought in changes. I wouldn't say major huge changes, but we are trying to do changes as much as possible by representing the cause of the taxpayer to the government. We have sent in petitions after petitions. Gandhi, in one of his in his book, he writes every day he writes 10 to 12 petitions to the government. If he can do so many petitions to the British government, we thought we should also do an equal number, if not more. But anyway, we don't do 10 or 12. We do possibly 3 or 4 in a week. Okay, and at the end of it, as it used to happen earlier, major chunk of it goes to the dustbin. Possibly, a few of them people do respond. Okay, we have seen governments responding even when we had Mrs. Jayalalitha as the chief minister. We wrote back. We had written to her, and there was a reply. I'm sure, of course, she wouldn't have replied. So one of their secretaries would have replied, but at least they had the courtesy to reply back and tell us what is really happening in this, and they forwarded it to the right authorities. And in some cases, it was to the wrong authorities, but still, it was forwarded. There was some action. Some idea is being imbibed in them. We are passing our thoughts, and when they are making relevant decisions, we assume that these ideas and thoughts in the past to them will also play an active role in making sure that appropriate decisions are being made. We had, of course, I can cite 1 or 2 instances where we had made some changes. One was for some of you might be processing of the customs duty drawback, and in case of that, it used to be some 45 days was the circular. I remember the number of people who wrote to the Prime Minister at the time was Manmohan Singh, and many people wrote, and we also had a letter written. But the action was that after nearly a year or 1.5 years, we were one of the many people who barked, and therefore there was enough noise raised, and he sent a circular saying that within 45 days, 80% of the claims being made by the exporters should be refunded back. And the remaining, after due process, which should not take more than 3 months or something, I'm forgetting the exact numbers, but this was the circular that came out of the Prime Minister's office. Okay, and it went to all the zonal officers of the customs, excise and service tax of that particular CBC department, which comes in the CBC. So now, after this, nearly 2 years or 3 years, 2 years later, we found that the situation was no different. It was still happening the same way. Then we filed an RTI. We wanted to find out what is really happening, and they responded back. You'd be surprised, there were some people who said that they have not been maintaining the date of receipt. Within 45 days, the payment has to be made to the refund has to be given, but the refund was not happening. And we asked them, how many cases you have not made the refunds? And they came back and said, unfortunately, in our register, there is no space for maintaining the date of receipt of the application. So therefore, they they cannot find out whether it's 45 days or 75 days to this. So this was the answer for the RTI, which we forwarded to the Chief Commissioner as well, so that he knows what is really happening in this department, how the order is being neglected. But sooner or later, I hope things would change. So like this, we have we have raised our voices. Even one of the other things that we raised last time also, we were making lots of hue and cry about it. It's a direct benefit transfer, which we presume to change many things, which will create a level playing field in the market. I plan to talk something more about it in the second session, so let me not brief that now. So this is this primarily forms the basic idea behind the association. This is on one side of it, policy advocacy. We will not go on the roads and fight against the government or anything like that. We are for changing policies, creating appropriate laws which would bring in major change in the overall operation of our country and in turn the state and the cities as well. So this is one of the activities that we do. We also get into some of the panels and small panels formed by governments and try to push our agenda. This is our activity. And for fund realization, we also do we have memberships, we have programs like this. So various things we do in order to mobilize some funds for the organization. So this is primarily what India taxpayer is. Now that I put the India taxpayer in a proper perspective, let me also take this opportunity to put the today's topic in proper perspective as well. We have taken the topic of optimizing profits. Profits, of course, is the prime focus for every industry. And what we thought was optimizing profits. By this, there are two major areas that we identified as the core reasons for profit making given a specific situation. Okay, the idea works like this. One is that we are not looking at expansions. For increasing profits, I'm not saying that we are not talking of expanding the company. Growth of the company is not what we are considering. In this case, the assumption is that you have got a specified market, a clientele, given the current situation, with everything present as it is, as of today. How are you going to improve your profits? Without not increasing your volume of production or scale of operations, not doing any of these things. Given the situation, there are so many other things that you can do, small optimizations in your own organization. Even with the current business, you should end up with a better bottom line. So that is what is the core idea of the optimizing profits. So the optimizing profits is not about increasing your business and thereby growing your profits. That is a different perspective, totally different. Optimizing your profits means that within the existing portfolio, whatever you have in your company, how do I make better returns? You get what I'm saying, right? So this was what we set ourselves as the goal. Okay, this primarily means that you have to work more efficiently, and that is what the whole discussion is centered upon. Existing business, with the existing business, given the existing customers, given the existing line of work, etc., how do I make better profits? Essentially, move towards efficient and more result-oriented working. So this we divided into two. One, we thought it is finance. How do I optimize or how do I work better with my finances? Second, two, how do I work better with all other areas, non-finance? So we separated this into two panels, and we have some very good speakers who are going to sit on both the panels today. Okay, these people are over I would say decades of experience, 3 decades of experience behind them. Okay, so they can give you lots of information, and what they possibly are thinking and putting across to you is possibly 5 to 10% of their capabilities or knowledge that they know, or even lesser possibly. And what you need to do is bring out the remaining as much as you want. You participate in this, you ask queries, questions, and bring out and make use of their experience and expertise as much as possible.